The way I see conversations that are at their peak as I've been questioning and calling them, it's really, when do conversations suck? When are conversations good? What is something you wish someone would ask you more? We are back here again at Syracuse University, asking college students these very questions with the intention this time around to get to the root of what it feels like and how to get to conversations that really leave a mark on you. As I mentioned in the past, I grew up with social anxiety, a plague and a virus in the mind where I felt deeply, deeply disconnected and found great struggle and hardship in feeling comfortable being around other people. And that resulted in previous videos that you may have seen where I've done a lot of social anxiety exposure therapy, or I've gone out and exposed myself to fears by doing social anxiety challenges, with the real root of it being feeling okay not only within myself, but like I said, with other people. And so that has blossomed, evolved into what I'm exploring here today. If you see my recent videos with these public interviews, I've done a lot of questions about when you feel loved, when you feel connected to people. And this is akin to that because the passion and the interest is there and I feel it in my heart. I'm not claiming to be a guru or an expert or anything on this topic, but I definitely, like I said, find that interest. My goal here today is to go out here into the collective and see what type of passionate answers we get. So let's get talking to people. What is your name and what's your major?
I'm Annie. I'm a public relations major.
My name is Sadal Kabi. The major is computer science. We rocking it.
Mane, I'm a double major, economics and African American studies.
I'm Neil Adams, and I'm a television, radio, and film major.
My name is Abby. I'm a digital journalism major, and I'm minoring in anthropology and geography.
What is something you wish people asked you about more?
I think more about kind of my family life at home. I think it's kind of all materialistic these days, and it's a lot about kind of social things. I wish they would talk more about my family.
Why family in particular?
They're important to me. They're special. I have a deep connection with them as well, so I like to talk about them.
Was there ever a point where someone asked about that and you're like, yes?
Yeah, I think usually kind of towards a month into a new friendship is when kind of those questions start to get asked, and I just love talking about kind of the different aspects of my siblings and my parents and stuff like that.
A lot of people are like, how do you have so much positive energy? Someone told me this yesterday. When I see people, I smile. I just saw my boy Joe. I was like, yeah, it was good. It all happens. I believe in spreading positivity. But something that I think people should ask more people is, how do you feel? You know, you're obviously you're acting like this in front of people, but how do you really feel inside when you're not with a lot of people? Something like that. Not a lot of people have, I guess I can speak about myself personally. A lot of the internal battles that I have, a lot of the internal things that I face, I really do not tell people about it. So people would just see me act completely the same, regular everything. But they don't really know that when I go back to my room, it's like the depressive feeling, the feeling of I don't really know what to do. So essentially, everyone has more to them than what meets the regular eye. Eventually, you need to ask them how they're feeling.
I wish people would ask me more about how my heart's doing and my mind, instead of just how's it going, how are classes. I know people care a lot about that, but also sometimes you're not doing well and you want people to ask genuinely how you're doing, and then subsequently how can I help if they can help.
Is there anyone in your life that you notice you have those conversations where they ask you how you're feeling more often?
My mom, she's my best friend, and then my Nina, my grandma, she's also my best friend, and then my best friend Seth. We talk a lot about how we're feeling, and yeah.
I would say I wish people asked me more about some of my specific and niche interests, but lately I think I've put myself around a really good group of people that that are interested in a lot of the same things that I'm interested in. So that's been a great development for me.
What pushed you to that transition? What was that like?
I think I realized that I work better in public places and not just getting work done in my own apartment. And so when I took that part out of my life, business and all of that, and I took that and I actually started going to the launch pad over there to get a lot of my work done in the past year or so. I started meeting a lot of other really passionate entrepreneurs and people that are interested in content creation and stuff like that. So kind of just built up a community around those interests, and I still have a lot of friends who who I have through other channels that aren't just all like businessy and into content creation, but it's good to have that community.
I guess about my background a little more, like where I come from, where my family comes from, because I think it's just overlooked and like, it's just overlooked in my personality.
What makes you say that?
Because I guess when I come here, I say I'm from New York, but really I have a Senegalese background that most people don't know about. And I feel like I don't get to express it a lot just because people don't ask about it a lot.
Has there ever been an instance where someone kind of brought it up or asked about it or inquired about it?
I mean, usually I bring it up. So, but normally people don't ask me about it.
What is it about that? When you get the opportunity in that conversation where it comes up, what is it about that draws you to, like, you feel connection? Like, what is it about that really that resonates with you?
I mean, when I was born, like, they were there obviously first. They're my main source of happiness. You know, they taught me everything I need to know, how to be polite, how to be confident in myself. So all the memories that I have with them are always constantly positive and uplifting. So
I would say it's just really exciting to get into a really deep conversation with someone else who has similar interests and similar goals to yourself. It's just really exciting and can help push me to think of new things and keep growing, keep changing.
In terms of the other person?
Yeah, like when you're talking to them, what does it feel like when you bring that up?
It's pretty exciting. It feels like an icebreaker.
Yeah.
When you're just talking to someone new, but when you finally get into who you are, the conversation flows a little better. So I think, it's like a great icebreaker with someone. It uplifts the conversation.
It just feels really gratifying, and knowing that like I'm not as alone as I think that I am, and just knowing that people care about how their friends and family are doing.
In conversation in general, what makes it dry, boring, dull? What makes conversation suck?
I would say when it's, like I said earlier, just kind of about all of those like materialistic things, a lot of just us like conversation going in circles, just talking about, what you may be doing on the weekend that's the same every weekend, and the weather, what you're drinking, and like just random just stories that really have no meaning and just are so bland and vague. I mean, that doesn't really answer your question, but
I've spoken with a lot of people, so I'd say this is a hot take, but when I'm talking to a guy, definitely how they're doing. If someone is in a bad mood because he failed an exam, he's not gonna be that engaging. And if you talk to him, because you don't know what he was doing before you talk to him.
Yeah.
But if you're talking with a friend, I mean, I would assume he's not your friend if a conversation is boring at the very beginning. So if you're talking to someone who just failed an exam, he's obviously going to be dead and not trying to be responsive or reactive to the conversation. So I guess how a person is doing mentally, what they were just doing.
Like the energy, you mean? Like
the energy.
It sounds like it's like when they're just like,
yeah,
like
I'm
this.
tired. Yeah,
like the sub-communication.
I guess when like the parties are not really attentive, they're not paying attention, or it's just short one-worded answers that ends the conversation. So, yeah,
it's like not elaborating, just kind of. Oh yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, just one-worded answers, just getting straight to the point. I think that makes it dull.
Whenever I'm having a conversation, I try to ask people as much as I can about what they're interested in talking about, rather than just what I'm interested in. So I think, if someone's just talking about themselves, that definitely makes the conversation boring. Or if they're just kind of like trying to wait to get in the next thing that they have to say, rather than really hearing you out and kind of prodding and asking more about what you're already interested in talking about.
It's like when you're talking to someone, for example, if I meet someone like, hey, how you doing? What's your name? They're like, yeah, my name is Josh. And it's just one single word answers. That's definitely like a boring topic thing.
I wholeheartly agree.
It's like,
with
you're
that.
not going to ask me my name, like engage in a conversation, you know what I mean? So definitely that. I'd also say when it comes to like when you're talking to a new person, like a new girl, for example, if I'm talking to a girl, the one thing always because not for everyone, but like if a girl comes and talks to me, immediately I'm gonna assume like it depends on the setting. If it's at a bar, I'm gonna assume she's interested, and same thing happens. If I'm talking to a girl, she's gonna probably assume that I'm interested in her, which could be true. I am interested in you, but am I interested in you as a person? Am I interested in you to be a friend? Am I interested to know more about you? a lot of those factors play, and I guess the conversation that I have leads to what type of way I just gotta go.
It's like listening.
Yeah, listening is the most important thing. When people are trying to be confident, or trying to be confident, they might make the mistake of trying to seem cool and talk about all these things. But what people are going to really remember about you most of the time is people care about themselves, kind of. So, if you're able to get to the heart of what they really are interested in, and let them have that really passionate conversation about the fact that they went on a sailing trip with their dad 2 summers ago or something. They're going to be remember that you're a really cool person, and they might not even remember a ton about you, but they remember that they really enjoyed talking to you. So yeah.
When is conversation at its peak?
I think when there's laughter. I think laughter to me is very important. I think it shows that you're creating a connection because you enjoy the same sort of things that make you feel happy. I think laughter is a form of happiness. So yeah.
I think late at night, when I was with some friends, maybe coming back from going out, or maybe having dinner, or just when it can get really relaxed and we don't have anything specific on our minds about what we have to do, but we can kind of just think about the really broad philosophical things, or just get really into something that we've been thinking about over the week, that kind of comes out, and we're able to really get into something like that. I would say that's when it hits its peak, and we're just laughing together and telling stories and talking about our goals and our dreams and interesting things that we've learned about or thought about recently.
For me, so definitely when there's a lot of emotions, no, let me talk. I'm gonna say this. Is you always try to prove a point. That's when a conversation.
I even know when you do that too.
It's that's when a conversation is at its peak. When it's something that you definitely have a lot of opinion on, and you think your opinion is correct.
It's the back and forth.
The back and forth. When the back and forth conversations happen, that's when conversation is at its peak. Emotions play a role, so you're gonna be
really? Okay.
You're gonna like to have that conversation with that person because you're literally engaging in that conversation. And when emotions play a role, it's I like talking to this person. I feel like I get enraged, and I learn a lot from him, and I get his opinion, and I want to make him know my opinion.
What type of humor are you most drawn to?
I'm not really sure, honestly. I think I like kind of humor at other people's expenses, not in a mean way, just kind of a funny jab at a friend or something like that. Things like that I enjoy.
Yeah. I find that actually brings me closer to someone sometimes, rather than when it's too nice. It's you're just you're showing we're cool with each other.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And one last thing. What is something people do that puts you at ease in conversation?
I think just giving reassurance. I think if you're having a conversation, and a lot of people I'm a very easy to tell person with my emotions. I think people can tell when I'm very uneasy with things. I appreciate that reassurance, just kind of knowing I understand what you're saying, I hear you, you make sense is a nice relief.
What's a concrete example of that? Someone literally saying that makes sense?
Yeah, or just even nodding their head and showing that they're engaged in the conversation, and just showing I want to be here and talk to you.
What is it about that? Is it is it the emotion, or is it kind of the back and forth? What is it about that dynamic that really is fuck yeah, this is what I like?
Well, I guess when the back and forth is happening, it's when someone is watching UFC. They get that type of emotion. It's whoa, this is happening. So when you're that, I guess you could call it adrenaline. I don't really know what type of emotion it is, or what type of thing your brain releases. So for example, when I'm talking to Joe and it's we're going back and forth, no, this is what happens when this ABC happens, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just no, but I think ABC happens when the XYZ happens. So it's back and forth. But Joe, let me tell you, I was looking at it. So that, I think it's the emotion really, because the emotion helps you get attached to that type of conversation.
I think that's a really interesting point, because I think a lot of people are actually afraid of that because it's the disagreement. But what you're kind of alluding to and revealing, it's what my intuitive, if correct me if I'm wrong, it's you're kind of connecting with them because you're kind of showing your true opinions and feelings.
Definitely. I think if you're showing your emotions, that's already like an ice break method, because you're emotionally engaged in the conversation as well. You're not just like mentally engaged, but emotionally engaged as well. So
when you're in conversation with someone and it's at its peak, it truly feels like the walls around the heart are melted. And there's this channeled energy that's shared between you and the other person or people. And I find that to be so nourishing. I think that what I struggled with growing up, what I called social anxiety, was also just the fear of being vulnerable. And that's what I think a lot of social anxiety is, because this trauma that's embedded, you fend yourself off from experiencing it again because it's just stuck in the body energy, somatically. And the terror of experiencing it again, you want to have that safe environment to do so. The way I see conversations that are at their peak, as I've been questioning and calling them, it's really aliveness. It's really a sense of nourishment and healing. You can shit on socialization all you want, but at the end of the day, if you don't have those sources of deep love coming your way, whether it be your family, your friends, people that care about you and that care about you in return, I don't know, in my experience, you're missing out on a whole lot. And that's why I'm so grateful to be doing these interviews, because they're an opportunity for me to enjoy that with random people who share their stories of what they've been through. For someone who struggles with having conversations like that, or even like finding a community, kind of like what you found here at SU, having good conversations, what advice would you give someone like that who struggles?
So to give a background, I was very introverted my freshman year. I'm currently a senior, so 3 years ago, I'd say 2 years ago, especially because I was a foreigner. I'm an international student, and I used to have a heavy accent, and I still have that accent, but I used to watch YouTube videos on how to talk to people. I was like, yo, how do you talk to people? I need to make friends somehow, some way. Eventually, I said, the hardest part in trying to start a conversation is getting the balls to start a conversation. And the most simplest and effective way to start a conversation is going up to someone and say hi. The moment you say hi, your brain is gonna what's it called? It's gonna overthink. Panic mode is gonna hit, and you're gonna start to try to keep the conversation going, so you protect your image and not make that person think that you're weird, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if I want to talk to someone, I just go up to them and be like, hi, how are you? What's your name? Simplest thing. Hi, what's your name? And when they say your name, be like, oh, I'm Saad. How are you? Your brain is gonna start snapping. You gotta keep going with the conversation, and I think most humans would do a good job when they're in that panic mode to keep the conversation going, because they don't want to be seen as weird.
Yeah.
So I guess the hardest part in having conversation is getting the guts and getting the guts to go say hi, to just say hi.
Starting.
Just literally say hi. They're gonna say hi. What's your name? Panic mode is gonna hit. Survival instinct. You can't be seen as weird. So that's how it was for me, at least. And obviously, when more highs, with more conversations, you're gonna learn. You're gonna get. It's like a video game. You're gonna get XP points. You know, the more experience you have with these type of conversations, the more things you're gonna learn on what to do different. You know, and how to handle certain type of situations. So yeah, that's what I would say. What about you?
Experience is what you're saying. What I'm hearing.
You need to get some experience. There's no experience if you don't say hi.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're gonna have to start somewhere. And if you don't start now, you're not gonna start later.
I guess just try to pay attention. Try to see how you relate to the things they're saying, so you could kind of tag along in the conversation. Definitely look out for things that interest you, things that interest them, so you can ask them more about it as well. So yeah.
Like I said, I'm a journalism major, so I talk to people a lot, and I really rely on nonverbal cues and being like, yeah, I get you, nodding your head, hand movements and stuff, and then also just I don't know, not being distracted during the conversation, looking at them in their eyes. And I wasn't that good at this in this interview, but just not being on your phone and kind of really being in the moment with the person that you're sharing that moment with.
I think find the right people and the right communities, because you shouldn't have to force talking to people and force having a conversation just so that you can feel like you're being social. You should find the groups of people that that share common interests with you, especially, you know, at a university. There's so many different clubs and organizations for so many different specific things that you might be interested in. So if you are, I don't know, say going out to the bars and you're like, this is boring, I don't like any of these people, or like I'm not having a good conversations, but maybe you have an interest in Japanese calligraphy, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just anything. Like, there's probably some group of students on campus that is also interested in that. So just spend the time with those people, and also remember the fact that not in a negative way, but I think a good frame to have and to remember is that everyone cares about themselves, and so they're not really thinking about you too negatively or too positively. They're just thinking about how, like, you perceive them. So don't take it too deep. Nobody's gonna really remember the weird thing that you said at one point. Yeah. And also, like I said, you know, ask people about themselves. If you don't have any interesting things to share, like, you can always just be like, what you been working on? Like, how was your day, man? Like, what have you been thinking about lately? And you might be able to build a really interesting conversation.
Awesome. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. That was wonderful. Yeah.